Whether you want to admit it or not, we've all been chained to nostalgia at one point or another. From music to smells and other forms of stimulation, we've all experienced that connecting point. That feeling swells and you're hit with a bittersweet feeling of better times. For gamers, that feeling can be overwhelming. You see a trailer, the soundtrack swells, and you hear sounds from a decade ago, but it sounds more rich and more full. The characters who were once blocky polygons you had to fill in with your imagination are now rendered in painful detail. And even though you've beaten this game, explored every corner, gotten every collectible, and know the story by heart, you feel that pull. And you reach for your wallet to buy the exact same game all over again. Lately, it feels like we're drowning in them. Final Fantasy VII, Resident Evil 4, The Last of Us, System Shock. The list of remakes and remasters hitting the market is endless. It seems like developers are just cashing in on our childhoods, selling us the same memories with a new coat of paint. And it works. Between the start of 2024 and the end of September 2025, players spent $1.4 billion on remakes and remasters. But is this just an evil cash grab from publishers? Are we all just suckers for a prettier picture? A psychological need for comfort that our chaotic modern world has us all secretly craving? The answer is a lot more complex than just good or evil. To figure out why you'd willingly pay full price for a game you already own, we first have to talk about the immense power of nostalgia. It's not just a fond memory, it's a deeply rooted psychological phenomenon. Researchers describe nostalgia as a predominantly positive, social, and past-oriented emotion. It's more than just a, hey, remember when, but a more powerful tool our brains use to regulate our mood. Studies have shown that nostalgia is a fantastic antidote to negative feelings like sadness and loneliness. When you're feeling down, your brain is actually more receptive to nostalgic triggers, actively seeking out those good memories to lift your spirits. It's a self-regulating cope. People who experience nostalgia more often tend to report higher self-esteem, find it easier to trust others, and even suffer from depression less. In a world that often feels overwhelming, nostalgia is a comforting trip back to a time we see as simpler and safer. And for gamers, the best nostalgic memories often aren't just about the games themselves, but everything that came with them. They're about sharing the experience. Late night sleepovers, 4 a.m. console parties where you had to wheeze laugh in silence to not wake your parents up, thrill of playing a release at midnight and still having to go to school the next day, getting home from school and seeing a full party of friends waiting to play something. When researchers asked people to describe their nostalgic gaming memories, they almost always mentioned family and close friends, even without being prompted. These experiences are deeply social. At its core, nostalgia is about connection. It reinforces who we are by connecting our present self with our past self. It reminds us of the bonds we've formed and the communities we've been a part of. So when you replay an old game, you aren't just playing a game, you're hopping into a time machine that takes you back to those moments of joy, challenge, and friendship. You're essentially reconnecting with the younger you. And the comfort this provides is real, measurable, and profoundly human. So that feeling isn't just a man-made marketing trick that publishers created to squeeze money out of you. It's your brain giving you a much-needed dose of emotional stability. Alright, well if our love for these games is so personal, where does the multi-billion-dollar industry fit in? While your brain is looking for comfort, publishers are looking for profit. And they've realized your memories are one of the most reliable resources they have. The modern AAA gaming landscape is a jungle. Developing a brand new IP can cost hundreds of millions of dollars and take the better part of a decade. And after all that, there is no guarantee it will succeed. For every new hit, countless ambitious projects flop, sometimes taking whole studios down with them. From a business perspective, remakes are the opposite of that risk. They're a sure thing. The game is already great. The fanbase already exists. The marketing was basically done for you decades ago. Why spend a fortune trying to convince people to love a new character when you can just sell them Cloud or Leon again? It's a low-risk, high-reward strategy. And the timing couldn't be better. The generations that grew up with the NES, PlayStation, and Xbox 360, Millennials, Gen X, and Gen Z, are now in their peak spending years, with disposable income and a powerful urge to reconnect with their youth. This demographic is a goldmine. In the United States alone, there are an estimated 26.7 million retro gamers. The global retro gaming market isn't some tiny niche. It was valued at a massive $3.8 billion in 2025 and is growing at a steady 10% annually. The financial incentive has created a tidal wave of content. We can see it in huge ground-up remakes and in simple remasters that just polish up the visuals for modern hardware. We can also see it in subscription services like Nintendo Switch Online, which has 34 million subscribers paying for a library of classic titles. The data from Ampere analysis is crystal clear. Players spend, on average, more than twice as much on a remake compared to a remaster, showing we're willing to pay a premium for a major overhaul. Publishers have even figured out that the sweet spot is between 10 and 20 years after the original release. The perfect window to capture original fans and a new generation who might be scared off by old graphics. For companies navigating a crazy expensive market, raiding the back catalog is an incredibly effective business strategy. And this brings us to the big conflict. On one hand, we have a genuine psychological need for the comfort nostalgia gives us. On the other, we have a massive industry that's gotten ruthlessly good at monetizing that need. Which leads to the question, is this whole thing a nostalgia trap? For a lot of us, there's a real internal conflict. You feel a little manipulated, like you're being sold the same thing over and over. You see a remake announced and part of you rolls your eyes at the obvious cash grab, but another part feels that genuine spark of excitement. We know it's a business move, but we still want it. And that is essentially the trap. It's a cage we willingly walk into, and honestly, one that we mostly enjoy being in. But maybe it's better to see it not as a trap, but as a symbiotic relationship. We, as the players, get to relive our favorite memories with modern comforts. No more fighting with janky hardware or clunky controls. We get a product that is almost guaranteed to be good, which is a rare thing in a world of buggy launches. In return, publishers get a reliable revenue stream to help fund the risky new stuff. But this relationship has its problems. This is where the fear comes in that this obsession with the past is killing the future of gaming. If studios can make guaranteed money re-releasing old hits, what's the incentive to take a risk on a bold new idea? Are we trading the chance for the next Elden Ring or Baldur's Gate 3 for the 10th version of a game we've already played? This is where things get nuanced, because not all remakes are created equal. A project like the Resident Evil 4 remake is celebrated because it took a masterpiece and modernized its gameplay, making it feel fresh while respecting the original. It justified its own existence. On the other hand, The Last of Us Part 1 on PS5 got a lot more criticism. Their original was only a generation old and still perfectly playable, making many question if a full-price remake was necessary or just a way to cash in on the TV show's success. Similarly, the rumored remake of Horizon Zero Dawn, a game that still looks and plays great, has stoked fears of an endless remaster cycle. Upcoming titles like the Fable reboot, set to release in fall of 2026, have to walk an even finer line. As a full reboot, it has to satisfy decades of fan nostalgia while also being an innovative, modern game for new players. But it's also important to remember that this trend isn't just a AAA thing. The indie scene is thriving by creating spiritual successors that are basically love letters to classic games. Titles like Stardew Valley, which is a successor to Harvest Moon, and Sea of Stars, a tribute to 90s JRPGs, capture the feeling of those old games while pushing their genres forward. In that sense, nostalgia is fueling creativity in new and exciting ways. So where does that leave us? Are we trapped, manipulated, or just content? The reality is, we are drawn to nostalgia for deep psychological reasons. It's a source of comfort, a link to our personal history, and a way to feel connected. This is a major part of being human. The gaming industry has simply gotten incredibly good at selling a product that serves this fundamental need. But the nostalgia trap is only a trap if you're unaware of it. By understanding the psychology that drives us and the economics that shape the market, we can be smarter consumers. We can appreciate a masterclass remake like Resident Evil 4 for the achievement that it is, while also being critical of a low-effort remaster like the GTA trilogy. We can celebrate the preservation of classic games while still demanding and supporting brand new ideas. Our love for these games is nothing to be ashamed of. The joy of revisiting a world that shaped you is real. The goal shouldn't be to escape the trap, but to understand how it works, to know why you're reaching for your wallet. It's about finding a balance, of celebrating the past without letting it completely eclipse the future. And that power, ultimately, is in our hands.